All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Look at how the VIX is starting to try and fool everybody. Look at our trend line. Look how that is holding up fairly well. Like I said, they may try and fake us out. They tried it back here. Overnight, everything over here with the Japanese 10-year bond, we'll talk about that in a second, had everything going crazy as far as currencies. I was watching that pretty much like a hawk throughout the night. Barely got any sleep just because I'm obsessed with this stuff. So, as far as this, the volatility index caused major havoc, aka the VIX, on the SPY. If you can see what happened today, it literally shot down, then it tried to recover. So, what it ended up doing was pretty much nothing. It just sat there still. Yeah, it went down a few percentages, but it's still it's hovering here. So one of two things can happen. We're either going to get a sell off with us trying to test these resistance areas, or it's just going to keep coming down. I was on the lines of it's just going to keep on coming down, which right now it's kind of playing out. We'll see. But as far as the VIX, that's what I'm using to go ahead and make my decisions, just because this is what I've been looking at this whole time. So if you know what the VIX does, if you line it up against the SP 500, this is what you get. Hold on, let's see if it. Yeah, there we go. Right there. So whenever it's on the elevated side or it starts to spike up to the increased volatility, it usually starts pulling down the market. It's not hard to just overlay the two together and come up with that assumption. As you can see here, it's not hard. Just add it. One of the things that I've been watching is okay, how will the same patterns, because I'm a big pattern guy, I do believe history rhymes sometimes, how will they go ahead and affect the upcoming weeks, especially as prices continue to come down? Uh, like currencies aren't really doing much. They're gaining strength, if anything, or holding their levels. This is what I have for, let me get rid of the SPY, but this is what I have for DXY. It's just pretty much trading sideways. It's holding between 103, 104. I do expect it to come back up. I do think we're going to get another hump to the MACD. The MACD is showing that it is starting to loosen up a little bit, as you can see. So along the way, we may get a sell-off somewhere, but I do believe it's going to make another hump and we're going to go for it. When that happens, we don't know, but what I'm using as my leading indicator is the VIX, just because what I'm really looking out for is this part. So we try to have a fake out right here, but how I saw that coming was right here. You see how if we were to draw a trend line on this area, actually we did, it goes straight across with a fake out and then immediately followed with a big pop up here. So that's kind of what happened, although we didn't keep our pop. So that had me a little suspicious. Okay, well, what's going on? Do you think we're going to be like continuously tested? What I've ended up seeing this, I guess, entire bear market down since 70,000 Bitcoin or whatever the top was, is time based capitulation. And what I've seen is as the last two times when bears puts versus calls were lopsided, the last two times it immediately wrecked the bears. Usually that's the case. Today we actually got a huge sell off, but it's following in line with the VIX. So when things start to decouple, meaning the correlation between certain aspects of, like, for example, currencies and risk assets, whenever things start to decouple, you have to pay attention right away, just because that's usually the sign to where whenever they recouple, it might make a big move in a way. So, for what I'm trying to explain is right here, VIX up, currencies stayed the same. Usually we watch at currencies because based off of the past, currencies up means risk assets down. But this time the currencies are still sideways. If anything, there may be nothing like that they moved. So what I was looking at is okay, the VIX started drastically moving up again. It's playing with people a lot. So I do think there's a huge spike coming. I tried to call it earlier up here, so I ended up getting. I didn't believe this move, and it likely enough it did come back down. I said it needed some sort of confirmation, blah blah blah. We're getting a dragged out confirmation around here. This is the daily that I am looking at, but what I'm looking at is okay, if it's copying something similar here and trying to get some sort of fake out like these small candles or this and then massive gap up, what I think is going to happen is some sort of drastic move where we either find ourselves having gapped up with increased volatility, like we're going to come up here. In my opinion, this is not financial advice or anything. This is just having no position in something helps you see with no feelings. You got to think clearly. You can't think emotional, especially as we get to the final leg. Like that's my opinion, but just like think of it as opportunity. You can't just be greedy McScrooge over here and want to have the absolute like most out of the market every last drop. Like you got to be patient, think objectively, and no feelings. You got to be cold about these things. Why? Just look at the past, look at the patterns, look at how the emotions would have been. I'm a very methodical person, so I like to think things through. And when it comes to this part right here, this is what I was thinking. Okay, when it started to think, or not think, when it started to move up, what was everybody thinking? Oh man, it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. So as soon as the market starts leaning heavily one way, it does the opposite. And that's because there's market makers that want to squeeze out the most amount of money out of both sides. Remember, they're not playing with the bears, they're not playing with the bulls. They are there to get the most money out of both. That's why options are huge, etc. But that's a different rabbit hole. So when the market is starting to see the VIX climb up, increased volatility, and be like, oh, okay, we're about to get it sell off, and it starts breaking like resistance areas and going through. If it doesn't come back for confirmation, that's like usually really bad. So as far as this, as you can see, another fake out happened here. It ended up going upwards very hard. Same thing here. It got a fake out, but look what happened. Even if it sold off, confirmation came back, bam, sold off though, right? So similar patterns will happen. It doesn't go straight up, it doesn't go straight down. It likes to go like literally every way it possibly can. Um, be very careful with this, especially as it comes to how the decoupling. I'm saying decoupling of the currencies with risk assets, just because now risk assets are selling off very hard, and currencies are staying the same. They're like they're not moving hard. So one thing that I did notice last night was the Japanese 10-year bonds. Look what it did overnight. So I drew this out. There's multiple ways that this can happen. This can either go down after this, go down after this. I knew we were going to come back and like retest this area because this is just like one giant trading range. You can see how it came back for a higher low here, lower high here. So usually this is the most notorious uh, drop like that. It's like almost the same pattern every time, just magnified uh, either in a large scale or a very small scale. So if you look at this part, more than likely it's going to do something like this. Either we fall here, or it wants to trick us all and then come back and fall here. Unless something major big happens, like majorly big, where they completely start manipulating it beyond belief, then at that point we might see a leg up here. But it's just up to them. Remember, they do have their bonds with a yield curve control. So as far as that, don't expect them to like do something unthinkable, because clearly they did here. Don't take that off the table, but just know it takes money to do what they're doing, and money is not infinite. As far as Bitcoin, this is around the area we're at. I'm looking for a leg down. I'm not going to get too caught up with like the short term just because the short term is telling me we are going down. When that happens, I have no idea, but I'm looking for either a lower low here or a higher low to give like a bullish divergence, and then we'll look at it. But for now, just know I am measuring these bands just because it does kind of help guide of okay, as far as like too much to the MACD to the negative side would mean okay, are we getting like two negative humps? That's literally just the strength of it, the way it. That's how I measure things. So you got to just see if it does, if it doesn't. So time will tell, but I do believe we're still coming home. Like between 8 to 12,000 Bitcoin. I'm not going to be the guy that misses that opportunity just because, like, think of it this way: we are retracing almost an entire cycle. I am a very big believer in opportunities like this only come around once and they don't last long. And man, just don't turn into greedy McScrooge by trying to squeeze out that last few percentage. Like you're you're going to have a huge opportunity, and think about how many people are just waiting in that area. That's what I'm trying to say. Like when everybody thinks they're running out of the burning building, this is not financial advice. Again, this is like it's pretty much gambling. But the tools that I like to use, like it's not hard to learn. MACD, it just shows you when you're in oversold, overbought, etc. Rate of change, it's a good one. Got to look at macro. Then, as long as you start looking at macro, you'll understand how to use a short-term advantage to your advantage. Let me see. Yeah, see, this is where I think we're headed. It's not going to be long before we get there. It looks like we are making a shoe pattern, and we're going to start to slide soon because this right here, that's a bearish divergence going on. Went here, and then it came back, made a hump here. At some point, we're going to cross into the negative territory on the MACD. We have very little volume going on just because like people are getting very fearful. And usually when that happens, we do move aggressively. Hence the VIX, why I'm like obsessed with it at the moment. Some people might call me crazy. I really don't care. It's the VIX, and it has been showing me the way. Have not gotten wrecked so far, thankfully. So we'll try and keep it that way. Knock on wood. But yeah, so that's my video. Happy holidays. I took some time with family, but it's pretty simple. I'm very active on Twitter. I show my stuff a lot. These are my personal charts. This is what I'm thinking. You see, it's just the VIX. And then as far as what to keep an eye on, bonds, Japanese 10-year currencies, because I believe they are no longer showing us the way. Which usually it was very simple to watch that and see. So right now, be expecting the unexpected, just like how uh, when the last two times when like the bears were piling on their puts, it usually led to like a run. This time it led to a sell off, a slight sell off, not a full sell off. So careful, watch the unexpected, but at the same time, be prepared for something different. So good luck trading. Have a good day.